Okay, so let's start with race. The short answer would be go human if you're alliance, go undead if you're horde. If you're not sure what faction you want, human is the best for pretty much every single class in PvP right now. Now let's take this a bit more in depth, okay? So for horde, undead is the way to go. Will of the Forsaken is just too good, and the passive, Touch of the Grave, is not bad either. After that I would say goblin. The haste buff you get makes it probably the best race for a Shadow Priest in PvE, and the mobility with the jump is really good for PvP as well. Close third, maybe even second, would be Troll. Trolls have the haste buff, which is if you spec Insanity and say Power Infusion, combine that with the Troll racial, it's gonna do a ton of damage. So Trolls are pretty good as well. Blood Elves, I'd say they're not that good. I mean, the silence is okay and the mana regen is decent, but other than that they don't really have anything. Next up we have the... oh my god, what is that? Okay, there we go. Torrents. Torrents are fun, I like Torrents. They're not really that good though. I'd say they're even worse than Blood Elves, because the only thing they have really is the War Stomp. And do they even have the extra HP anymore? Yeah, they have 5% extra HP. So Torrents and Blood Elves are pretty much the same, I would say. I would go for Blood Elf though. Okay, and now for Alliance. For Alliance you definitely want to go human. Humans are just hands down the best race for PvP right now. The ability to have 2 DPS trinkets is just insane. Okay, a second for me would be Night Elf. Night Elf is pretty cool and allows for some really great plays with that Shadow Meld. You can Shadow Meld to drop combat, and then you can use Spectral Guys to drop combat again, so it's pretty awesome. Now next in line after Night Elf would be, I would say, Worgen. Worgen are good. They're probably the best for PvE for Alliance. The sprint is good. The crit, the 1% crit is good again. And that's about it. They don't compare to humans, not at all. And I wouldn't put them on par with Night Elves either. But I think they're a strong third. Dwarves would be next for me. Oh my god. I actually like how dwarves look when they cast. And you can get 1% extra hit if you're wearing a mace. However, as a Shadow Priest in PvP gear, you usually go over the hit cap anyway, so you don't really need it, but it's there. And Stone Form is not as useful as it used to be. It's just there. It's okay, I guess. Gnomes. Gnomes are just gnomes. There's just nothing to it. It's pretty cool because you can break roots and then feather yourself, and you will have the full feather effect until you get rooted again, which is gonna be pretty much 1 second later in this game. Okay, next up we have Draenei. Oh no. Draenei are actually really bad for a Shadow Priest in PvP. You can't use Gift of the Naru in Shadow form, you have to get out of Shadow form and then go back in, so it requires 2 globals. Plus the HUD itself is not that amazing, and the extra hit they get, again, you can get it from a human, from a dwarf, and you don't need it anyway. So Draenei are, I would say, the worst class for Shadow Priest. Okay, and last but not least, but one of the worst, is Pandas. The problem with Pandas is they don't really have anything except the Incapacitate, and that breaks on damage, and as a Shadow Priest you do have damage up. That's pretty much all they have. I would put them actually above Draenei, but that's it. So that's it for races. Let's move on to professions. So professions. For professions, I would recommend you go. You can take anything that is not a gathering profession. So let me check all of them. You can go alchemy, blacksmith, enchanting. I'm gonna talk about engineering, inscription, jewel crafting, leatherworking. I think that's a good one as well. Yeah, it is. And I'm gonna talk about tailoring as well. So all of those, they all give you the same stats except for tailoring and engineering. Now, let's start with tailoring. As a tailor, you lose your cloak enchant for this, right? Lightweave, which increases your intellect by 2000, and it is a proc. So what I'd recommend is, if you're not used to tracking your procs, then definitely do not go tailoring, because if you just randomly do damage and you're tailoring your cloak randomly procs and then you just don't care, then you're pretty much wasting that 2k intellect. And I mean, for that you are losing 500 intellect passively, because you are not only losing the 180 intellect on your cloak, the enchant, but you're also losing the potential 320 intellect from another profession. So that's 500 intellect passive you lose for a 2000 intellect proc. So again, if you're not used to tracking your procs, and what I mean by that is actively looking over here, see, now it procced. So now I know that I can do more damage than usual because I have this. Well, I would wait for my trinket, which just procced, so now I can do more damage, right? If you're not used to tracking them up here, then I would really suggest you go for another profession. Now, about engineering. First thing is, if you're a human, you don't want to go engineering. What engineering gives you, and this is all about arena, by the way, because both tailor and engineer give you some pretty neat and cool devices you can use, and that's why I chose them, really. But I'm talking strictly arena now. So in arena, if you're a human, you do not want to go engineer, because it is pretty much pointless. The thing that you get from engineer is an on-use effect on your gloves. So you can see here, increases your increase your intellect, agility, or strength by 2k for 10 seconds. That way I can play with my proc trinket and my PvP trinket and have an on-use effect as well. So, but if you have an on-use trinket, if you're human, right? If you're human, you will have this trinket and the on-use trinket, and you cannot use gloves and the on-use trinket at the same time. So if you're an engineer, the only thing you get is the 2k intellect bonus when you use it. So the reason why I like it personally is because I can do the most burst possible with these two. Actually, it would be a bit more if I'd had the PvP trinket itself, but since I don't, this is the next best thing. So right now, you see I have all the procs, this, my weapon, and then I'm popping my gloves enchant and 3 orbing. That's but we'll get to rotation in a second. Okay, so that's pretty much it with professions. Now let's move on to the main issue when it comes to Shadow Priest, sort of, and that is the gear and the stats, the stat priority. So okay, so these are pretty much the cookie cutter stat priority. First, you want to get 6% hit, then it's intellect, then it's haste, crit, and then mastery. Intellect is overall better than haste in my opinion, but some priests do like to jump full haste. It all comes down to personal preference, really. I'm gonna explain exactly why and what the difference is. But first, let's get something straight, because I see a lot of Shadow Priests making this confusion. You don't go haste for the extra tick on your dots or anything like that. That's what you do in PV, it's true. You want to get the extra ticks on your dots. But in PvP, you don't care about your extra ticks. So the reason you go haste is for the faster global cooldowns, so you can spam more abilities. And also for faster mass dispels, mind blasts, and all the spells pretty much. So you don't go haste for the extra ticks. Okay, so here's the difference of not getting full haste gems compared to getting full haste gems. It all comes down pretty much to the 1300 intellect versus the 3300 haste. So with everything being said, the difference in damage itself will not be high either way you go. Okay, they're both fine. I would say that for really skilled players, and I'm talking 2.5k plus maybe, haste would probably be more beneficial than intellect, just because you can have those a bit faster reactions and a little bit more abilities you can spam because of your global cooldown being a bit lower. But for everyone else, I would really recommend going for socket bonuses like I am. Know that at 18,250 haste, you get to the global cooldown cap. So if you by any chance have a haste rating higher than that, although I don't think you can, then you should just stop going for haste at all, altogether, because it's not gonna help you. It's not gonna do any good for you anymore. This is a tip for PvEers as well. If you get to 18,215, then you can stop going for haste. And the PvP gear, if you go full haste gems with the full haste offsets, you would have around 15,000 haste, I'm pretty sure. So nowhere near enough the cap. Right, so let's move on to the gear itself. The gear itself is really simple. All you have to do is get your main pieces, the shadow ones, except for the gloves. You want the healer gloves because they have, you see, they have haste, and not the shadow ones have crit, I think, or mastery. And so you have the shadow helm, shadow shoulders, chest, and legs, and you want the healer gloves. And for off pieces, you want to get everything that has haste. Haste is the most important, then crit, then mastery. That's it. It's really easy. Just see whatever has haste and take that one. If it has haste and mastery, reforge the mastery to crit. If it has haste and crit, leave it like that. Simple. Yeah. And as for weapons, I would recommend not using a wand like I am. And the reason for that is, if you have a wand, you can... Okay, I actually have a mace as well. I'm pretty sure I did. Okay, I'm gonna use this one. If you have a mace or a dagger, if you right click a target, it's gonna hit it instantly, right? So, look. Let's say this is a totem or a mushroom, right? So I just right click it, bam. However, if I have a wand and I try to do the same, okay, it's pretty fast actually. You know, it still has the delay, see? Is this faster? No, it's 2 speed. So this is actually faster and it seems slower. See? You have that wait time. However, with the mace, you just go in and whack it. And plus you can do it on the move. You can't move and wand at the same time. See, it just stops stacking. So yeah, go for anything that's not a wand. Oh, and also you want to go main hand offhand, not staff. The difference again is really small. Staff gives a little bit more HP. Main hand offhand gives a little bit more spell power and other stats. So go main hand offhand, and that's for main hand, pick a dagger or a mace, not the one like I did. I picked the one because I wanted the transmog, but I regret it now. I have a mace as well in my bank, so I'm gonna change that. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for gear. In the next section I'm gonna talk about glyphs and talents. So if you wanna go straight to that, you can click over here. Or if you want to go back to the main video menu, you can click over here. So I hope this first part was helpful, and good luck.